All right, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeanette, and today I am going to be talking about the case of the Murdaughs, the Murdoch saga, if you will. This case has just been getting crazier and crazier every week for like the past 2 months, 3 months. It just seems like a new crazy thing comes out. So again, this is a video that might have some updates, so please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see those updates. So the Murdoch family, this specific family consists of Alex Murdoch, the father, who is the son of Randolph Buster Murdoch, who is the son of, he's like the third, so there are a powerful legal dynasty in the low country of South Carolina, which is kind of like the most southern part of South Carolina, where they have kind of the offshore island, like the islands and stuff that you can go visit, and it's like natural habitats and stuff. So this family, just to give you a little background on this family basically runs a region in the low country of South Carolina that is like it's 5 counties. It's a 5-county district. And 3 members of the family consecutively have served as the district attorney from 1920 until 2006, which is quite a stretch if you ask me. That is 86 years. One family controlled all of the crimes that were prosecuted in these 5 counties. That is a lot of power to bestow to one family. Mind you, they also owned one of the most powerful law firms in the area, which they would do litigation on anything, I'm sure, anything that anyone wanted to sue for. So if you have an issue, a civil issue in that area, you better be on the right side of the Murdochs, because they were very powerful. And they probably could do very good things or very bad things for people. So where this saga kind of begins for this leg of this family is with the crash of a boat. Paul Murdoch was 19. He was he's the younger son of Alex and Maggie. And he was, on the night of February 24th, 2019, he and 5 of his friends were partying near Paris Island in South Carolina. So again, this is an area right off the coast, and he and his friends, they're underage and they're drinking. They're living it up. They're having a crazy night. It's got to be kind of cool that night, but they're down in South Carolina, so I'm sure they're out and having a good time. And so after a night of drinking to crazy excess, Paul Murdoch and these 5 friends, including college student Mallory Beach, pile into Alex Murdoch's 17-foot Sea Hunt Triton boat. So it's like a little kind of a speedboat. I think it has an open in the front, so it's a bow rider, as my dad would call it. We're boating people, so I have a little bit of knowledge. And so at that time, they get in the boat, they're partying. What we know is that Mallory Beach was sitting on her boyfriend's lap, and nobody obviously was wearing seatbelts. I don't know if boats have seatbelts. I just said I'm boating people. Something's not adding up. So Paul Murdoch crashes this boat into the shore near the base of a bridge on Archer's Creek, which is nearby to Paris Island, South Carolina. So at that point, people are thrown everywhere. Everybody is injured, and Mallory Beach is missing. So she goes missing. They can't find her. It's the middle of the night. Search crews are out. They immediately call 911 and are distraught. They know that she's missing right away, and they call 911. They get first responders out there, and all right. So they are So these 5 friends are out there. They get emergency personnel out there, and Paul is acting a fool. He's being uncooperative. He's only wearing boxers, and he's obviously just like wasted, completely off his rocker. He is being rude to police. He's being rude to paramedics. He's acting like a little entitled brat. So at the scene, no field sobriety test was performed, but at the hospital, a full 2 hours later, Paul is recorded as having a blood alcohol content of 0.286, which is more than 3 times the legal limit, and that's after having 2 hours to sober up. So a nurse at the hospital also stated that he was grossly intoxicated and belligerent. Belligerent is a big word to use, especially for a guy that just crashed and potentially killed someone. For you to be at the hospital and acting belligerent, it's just not right, and it just reeks of being a shithead. So a full week later, Mallory is found dead a few miles away at a boat launch on the Broad River boat landing with obvious signs of trauma, and she had actually died from drowning. So she had probably been knocked unconscious when she got knocked off the boat, was under the water or was floating on the water, and they just didn't find her. And she ended up drowning because her injuries were so bad that she couldn't swim and couldn't keep herself afloat. During the investigation, there was a lot that was shown. It seemed like there was a big cover-up. Not that yet. So during the investigation, it was clear that Paul had used a fake ID to obtain alcohol for the group that night before being seen at Luther's Rare and Well Done Bar in Beaufort drinking. And there's also allegations that his father or his brother bought them alcohol even before they started drinking. So really not good choices for an underage kid who's then going to drive a boat, because it is actually illegal to drive a boat while drinking. You will get a DUI. I've seen people get DUIs on the water. There are cops who have boats. There are police officers on the river, and they will arrest you if you're drinking. They should. So despite being belligerent and wasted, the police didn't bother to handcuff or book Paul that night. And then there were allegations that the police were pressured not to charge Paul, and the judge actually denied a prosecutorial request that Paul wear an ankle monitor for the alcohol, an alcohol monitor, even though he was insanely drunk at the time of the crash and underage. He definitely should have been monitored in some way, but I'm not the judge in that county, and you aren't either, so. So the Beach family have been understandably outraged at the lack of investigation and at all that Paul has basically been allowed to get away with, what it seems, and filed civil suits against the family. And that case has really been muddled by the rest of what's happened in this Murdaugh family saga. So that was probably reported on nationally, but it didn't get as much media attention until June 7th of 2021. There are reports that 2 people were shot on the Murdaugh family property, and it comes out we find out that they're at the family hunting lodge in Islandton, South Carolina. Alex Murdoch, the father, discovers the body of his then 22-year-old son Paul and his wife Maggie, 52-year-old Maggie, dead near the dog kennels, or in the dog kennels. They had both been shot multiple times with different weapons. So it appeared that, obviously the indication is that there was more than one person. So he frantically calls 911, and we do have that call.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alex Murdoch at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to ambulance immediately. My wife and child just shot badly.
Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Sir?
You said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Yes, sir. 4147 Moselle Road.
Stay on the line with me, okay? Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Colin County Communications.
Collison, I have an Alex Murdoch on the line, caller from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot.
Okay, and sir, give me the address again.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennel.
Okay, and did you see anyone? Okay, is he breathing at all?
No, nobody.
Is she? Okay, do you see anything?
He says, I've been up to it now. I've been up to it now. Does that mean? That is a weird statement to make. If I found anybody dead, I wouldn't say, oh, I've been up to it, because that just it doesn't make any sense. It almost sounds like a little bit of guilt or like something. I don't want to speculate too much. So Alex claimed that he had been at the bedside of his terminally ill father at the time the coroner determined that Maggie and Paul had been murdered. And his father then subsequently died on June 10th, 2021. So we do know that he was ill and that... So Alex claimed he was with him and then afterwards went to visit his mother and spent some time with his mother before returning home around 10 p.m. June 7th and finding his family. So there was speculation that this killing was retribution for the death of Mallory Beach, especially since Paul really showed little remorse. The family was trying to get him out of any guilt in this case, and obviously that was outraged not just for the family of Mallory Beach, but also for the community who know that this family has so much power and wealth and control over this little area, and that must be just driving the population crazy. So in late June 2021, the police ended up reopening another case. So there's a 2015 case of Stephen Smith, a young man who was found dead on a road in Hampton County from blunt force trauma in a suspected hit and run. So this is based on the details discovered during the investigations of Paul and Maggie's death. Something was discovered. Something was found out, and they decided to reopen this case into Stephen Smith, who was a classmate of Buster, the older son, in high school. And there was some connection, whether they were friends or whether they were, played sports together or what. There was a connection between Buster and this young man that died. But during the initial investigation into this kid's death, the case just went cold. Now, the family of Smith, who is very distraught as well, was originally told that he was shot in the head by police. And then they were told that he was beat up and that he was found with blunt force trauma, so that he was beat up. And then they're told that it was a hit and run. So the story changed a lot. And it seemed like maybe somebody in the Murdaugh family perhaps had something to do with it. One media outlet even went as far as saying it as the case reeked of insider interference, or in other words, the Murdaugh family was covering up their involvement of at least one person, maybe more, who knows. So at that point, the killings of Paul and Maggie were unsolved, and Alex was obviously, I'm sure, going about his life and very distraught and stressed. Another 911 call comes in from Alex Murdoch on September 4th, 2021, so just a few months after his son and wife were found murdered brutally. This time he claims that he's been shot in the head. So supposedly he's on the side of the road changing his tire on his pickup truck, as most prominent wealthy attorneys do when their they get a flat tire on the side of the road. They won't call AAA or roadside assistance. They change their own tire, I'm sure, right? So that's red flag number one. Red flag number one. Red flag number one. So the wound was superficial, and he was released the next day from the hospital. But his attorneys claim that there was an entrance and exit wound and a skull fracture, which nobody else has said, but his attorneys claim that. And he's been seen in court, and there was no gauze on his head or anything that really made it seem like he was shot in the head. So the day he's released from the hospital for the injuries from somebody driving by and shooting him, trying to shoot him, he announces that he's going into drug rehab for an opiate addiction. So he's addicted to oxycodone, and he claims that he became addicted after the death of his wife and his son, and that he is also resigning from the family law firm because of this tragedy and his drug addiction. Nay, says the law firm. So this is his family law firm. I'm sure his extended family owns it. And they say that he has been embezzling millions of dollars from them. And he has been basically misappropriating the funds and using them incorrectly. You know, there's certain ways when you're in a business, when you own a business, that you're allowed to take a salary or take funds out. And there's certain things that you can write off, tax write-offs. You can go on business trips, bring your wife, and that can all be written off, but there's certain things that can't. And I think that that's kind of what we're looking at. So now at this point, the police are investigating this new claim that he was shot in the head, and the misappropriation of funds claim, and the 2 murders, when Alex finally comes clean. And he claims that he paid a friend, aka his drug dealer, Curtis Edward Smith, to shoot him in the head so that his son Buster could end up receiving a $10 million insurance payout. So this is an insurance fraud scheme. He's trying to assisted suicide. He's trying to have someone kill him, basically put a hit out on himself. So they go and arrest Curtis Edward Smith, and then Curtis Edward Smith is like, none of that happened, that Alex called him and was like, yo, come and, I don't know if he was going to meet him on the side of the road, probably to sell him drugs, actually. That makes sense. And then when he got there, Alex was like, I need you to kill me. I need you to shoot me. Maybe not kill him. Maybe it was, I don't know. But he's like, I need you to shoot me. And I guess he pulled out a gun. They're wrestling for the gun, and it goes off. It didn't hit him. But then at that point, Curtis Edward Smith flees, and that's when Alex calls 911. So that's the story that Curtis Edward Smith tells. So at this point now, we've got a history of insurance fraud. We've got Mallory Beach dead from the boat accident. We've got, obviously, Paul underage drinking, acting a fool. We've got Maggie and Paul dead. We've got Stephen Smith dead. We've got assisted suicide insurance fraud scheme. Next, right, of course. The next thing that comes out is that, so they had a housekeeper, the Murdoch family had a housekeeper for 20 years. She was a loved and trusted part of their family, and her name was Gloria Satterfield, and she had 2 sons, I believe. And on September 15th, 2021, Alex Murdoch was arrested because in 2018, Gloria Satterfield had a trip and fall accident and died in the Murdoch home, supposedly. And that was very tragic, and at the time, it was seen as just an accident. Despite it being reported to an accidental death as the coroner actually wasn't notified. There was no autopsy, and the death certificate suspiciously stated that she died of natural causes, which is not the case. So there's just a lot of incongruous information that's going on with this that just makes it a little suspicious, and good reason for the police to reopen this case. Another thing, and this is the reason why Alex Murdoch is arrested, is because there was an insurance settlement made on behalf of the sons by an attorney that was hired by Alex Murdoch, who had close ties to Alex Murdoch that were not disclosed to the sons. So the insurance settlement was settled on, I think it was $3 million maybe, and then the sons ended up being told it was $500,000, which they never even received that money anyway, but they were lied to, and Alex Murdoch ended up depositing that money into his own accounts. So he had embezzled insurance fraud. He had an insurance fraud scheme. He committed insurance fraud with Gloria Satterfield's death, regardless of whether they had anything to do with that death. Like, that's just very suspicious now that there's all these people dying around this family, suspiciously, without any repercussion, it seems like. So that's kind of where the case is now. I'm sure that there's going to be more. The attorney for Alex Murdoch has stated that Alex knows he's going to go to jail. He's a lawyer, so he knows that he's not getting out of this. It's been reported, though, that Maggie had hired a forensic accountant to go through the family finances at the time of her death. So it seems like maybe she was clued into what her husband was doing and that he was kind of an embezzling, corrupt drug addict. And that she maybe was about to find that out and expose him. And there was also a report that she had gone to an attorney, like a divorce attorney, to get information or seeking a divorce. So that is something that the attorney for Alex Murdoch has denied, but they also claim that he got shot in the head, and he clearly didn't get shot in the head. So there's just a lot of suspicious death, and this one branch of this family, imagine, I don't know how many, I know that he has a brother, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how many brothers or how many cousins. I mean, this is a dynasty that's going back to 1906, I think, was when the law firm was originally founded. So that makes you think, how long has this family been covering stuff up? How long has this been going on? Maybe Mallory Beach's family is just kind of the first family that had enough prominence to do something about it, because it's not looking good for this Murdoch family. All right, what else? All right. So the son, Paul, seemed very entitled, and he almost reminded me of that affluenza kid who claimed that he was too rich to know what consequences are, and that actually worked. And I'm sure that was a whole big cover up too, but it just reeks of that, just a dirty family that just wants to get away with everything and not really face up to the consequences of their actions. So what do I think? I think that Paul was a liability from the get-go. I think that Alex lured Maggie and Paul into the hunting lodge for two different reasons. Paul's a liability and Maggie knows too much. I think that he lured him in there, whether he was there himself or whether he hired someone or convinced someone else to lead them in there to get rid of them. I don't think that he would have had the money to pay a settlement to Mallory Beach's family. I don't think he wanted to face the consequences of what it meant that he would, have to get clean from his drug addiction, and that he would be found out for being this horrible person. I think that had a lot to do with what ended up happening and what's going to end up coming out. The police stated recently that obviously he is a person of interest from the get-go in this case. They just didn't say that because of the powerful nature of this family. I know drug addicts will do some pretty extreme stuff to hide their behavior, and if he was embezzling money and spending way behind his means, Maggie was about to find out. I mean, I'm sure she wasn't an idiot. Paul needed to go. He was his liability, and Alex himself was going to become criminally liable because he had probably provided alcohol for his son in the past, and this case was just getting too big for him, I think, and I think that he was just too far into his drug addiction. As this investigation goes on, more and more people keep popping up dead at the hands of the Murdochs, and I wouldn't be surprised if with each of these deaths there was some kind of hefty life insurance payout, maybe other than Mallory Beach. At this point, if you told me that Alex Murdoch had something to do with the death of JFK, even that wouldn't surprise me, just because this case just has so many twists and turns. So I want to know what everybody thinks. Who do you think's responsible for Paul and Maggie being murdered? What do you think Alex knows? Do you think he did it? Do you think that Mallory Beach's family had something to do with it? Do you think that it was retribution? What do you think about the Murdoch family? I know that it's, they're pretty well established in that area, but I kind of want to know what you think. So let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, because this case is ongoing. I'm sure there's going to be updates moving forward. So make sure to like and subscribe to this page, my channel, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day.